I respected from the first day I met him. So when I said what I said about him, it had nothing to do with his legacy. It had more to do with Paul's pain and Paul's hurt and how he chose to deal with it. That's what that was about.
When you came on our platform a few years ago, we talked about Richard Pryor and Paul Mooney's relationship and how there was an incident that the two of them end up falling out or having some tension due to like his son. And then we got to hear those allegations, and then from there kind of like became this big thing. From there, conversation kind of rolled out with Paul Mooney's legacy and how that might have affected his legacy. And then fast forward to this year, we lost Paul Mooney. Immediate thoughts that went to your head when you found out that Mooney was no longer with us?
God blessings. Paul Mooney was an associate, someone that I respected from the first day I met him. So when I said what I said about him, it had nothing to do with his legacy. It had more to do with Paul's pain and Paul's hurt and how he chose to deal with it. That's what that was about. So people misunderstood it, say I was calling him this. I never said that about Paul. Those of us that was around Paul knew. Whatever you want, label you want to put on it. But he was Paul Mooney to me, or as I met him, as Paulette. And when I met him like that, it was nothing to laugh at. It was like, what's the, Bruce Jenner and Caitlyn. It's like that. That's all it was. I go, okay.
Right. Did you ever kind of think about, like, did you receive any backlash from like people directly that were upset with those comments?
Well, not directly. You know, my daughters told me some things people were saying, but most of the time backlash comes from people that don't know what's really going on. They think he was saying something about Paul to hurt him. No.
Right.
To me, Paul was, if you go to how old he was and probably what he experienced, who could he talk to? See, we come from sweep it under the rug, pretend it don't happen, even though your uncle did this to your sister or your cousin, pretend it didn't happen. It still goes on, you know. And the adults pretend it didn't happen and just to get along. But still the kid is messed up, you know, so.
Right. As far as like, when I think about Mooney's legacy, what do you think he will be remembered for?
It depends on who's remembering him.
So the next, as far as like, what I noticed that when Paul passed away, there was this thing where it seemed like a lot of celebrities like jumped up and started representing him. But when he was alive, he didn't get that same
That's
type of love.
That's almost the Bible syndrome. You know, you want a sacrifice. You want to hold somebody up. And if they don't die, it really doesn't count. Don't count what you take them through to find out at the end it was wrong. You want them to die. Tupac also said it. So that's what it was with Paul also. Whether he was gay or not, whatever you want to call that. He had a private life, and he had a life that he shared his point of view of a lot of things that was going on, so he was correct. So a lot of people support you when you're not here and don't support you when you're around. Red Fox was one of them, Paul Mooney, and it's going to be like that for a lot more.
Why do you think that is? What's the psyche behind that?
Don't know. And once you see how popular he really was, you want to align yourself with that. Yeah, I knew him too. Well, you took a picture with him, or you've seen a couple of his shows, or you didn't know him. You was around him a couple of times. So that's part of self-promoting. That's all. That's all it is.
In terms of, to kind of close out Paul, do you think what was later found out about him ruined his legacy?
I don't think his legacy is wrong. I mean, who is saying he has the legacy and who is ruining it for him? He still said what he said. It's like saying because O.J. was accused of what he was accused of and then acquitted of it, that he didn't run all of the yards that he did. He still did that. Paul still said what he said with the pain that he had. So to ruin his legacy based on what?